Hi everybody, welcome to episode 5 of It's Called Soccer. International break has been and almost gone. Jamie Carragher is back on the show. I mean, lovely to see you, first of all. Where are you?
I'm actually in Miami. I'm in Miami. I've been stateside. I mean, I thought the podcast would come with me. I mean, I'm the one who's actually in the States. I'm over here. So I was in Chicago last week. What a city. Absolutely amazing.
How did
for the
Nicola
marathon.
get on? How did
She did fantastic. It was it was brilliant. The atmosphere, getting around and trying to catch it at different places. So I'm learning a lot myself from the last 2 marathons, how it works and how you go about it.
So she's done 2 and she's got 4 to go.
Yeah, so there's 6 major marathons. So it's Berlin, Chicago, New York, Tokyo, Boston and London. So we've got New York in 3 weeks, just under 3 weeks. She's done Berlin, which was 2 weeks ago, and just on Chicago. So she's not 100% fit, shall we say, as you can imagine, after doing that. But it was unbelievable, and I don't think I'd ever be able to do a marathon. But it's actually inspiring watching people go around. It is, and you know the energy, the atmosphere, especially in Chicago, it was a level up from Berlin in terms of how involved people get. So I can't actually be in New York for that one, but I'm going to go to the Tokyo one and then see where we go from there. But yeah, she's the sporty one right now.
I just noticed when you were speaking then, you said, we've got New York coming up, like you were sort of like the marathon coach or something. You know what I mean? We've got New York coming up, then we'll prepare for...
We're all team, Nicola. We're all part of a team. Yeah, but it's an unbelievable everything that goes about it. You've got to go this expo centre before, and this expo centre is just... Have any of you ever been to a marathon or watched one or...
No,
I've only a half one, not a full one.
Oh yeah, but it's a massive, people everywhere, the streets and that. So it's a great experience, but I couldn't do the training. You've got to do Nicola's done 10 or 12 weeks training to get up to that. That's the thing that I couldn't do.
Jamie, I quite like this. It's like your entire football career, she probably was traipsing around following you, whether it was at Anfield or on away games or, you know, for big matches.
She wasn't actually. No, but that was it. She's not a huge football fan. So what she used to do is she used to take certainly Mia, our daughter, into the city centre, and she'd go dancing and do drama. So she'd be like just walking around town waiting for Mia to finish and just be asking like little fellas on the stall, how are Liverpool getting on? Just to check what mood I'd be in when I got in. So it was just like, oh, thank God. Or if we were getting beat 1-0, she'd say, it wasn't Carragher's fault, the goal, was it?
And the answer is usually yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another own goal. Yeah. So, but no, it's brilliant. It's inspiring, and she's done amazing.
Yeah, well, we've missed you the last couple of weeks. Gary, I know when I saw you last, you were heading off for a little international mini break to the Lake District.
Oh, yeah.
How is that?
It's mini retirement, Rebecca. Come on.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Yeah. I had a little mini retirement at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, back Sunday, a couple of nights away, just break. It was very nice actually.
Is that the same place that you went with Keir Starmer that time?
How do you really comfort people on tax? Because that is the biggest challenge to any Labour government. You can't manage the economy.
Remember on your walk?
It's not far away.
Him and Keir Starmer went for a little stroll around the Lake District, and he was amazed that Keir Starmer used to go to Lake District as a kid. He was going, where is this place? This is amazing. Wow. It was only an hour from his house.
No, but I've not been to Lake District that much, but I've been more in the last 6 months than I've been in my whole life. And to be fair, I'm starting to get to love it. But
you're going to buy a place, aren't you?
No, I don't think so. I like...
Yeah, he is.
I like the idea of the tranquility, which, to be fair, I need tranquility in my life, and the Lake District gives me that.
Do you guys like an international break? Just quickly, I absolutely love an international break, me. Do you?
What's the reasons that you like them, though? I mean,
only because Well, basically, yeah. But I just got to do the fall festival in the town centre this past weekend that I've never had to do or never been able to do in the past so that's like the autumn festival, right? So it's kind of the pumpkins and the hay rides and the tractor rides and the games for the kids. And it's always fallen before or after international break. And this year, for the first time ever, I've got to take my kids. So doing stuff like that, when you work in the game, is obviously we've all done for our entire careers, weekends are always work. Yeah. When you get that odd weekend off and you can get to do like what normal people do, although I do find it hard on like a Saturday when you go to the shops or to get a coffee and you're like, oh my God, there's so many people. Like what I love going, in the week when everyone's at work, that is great. But just the odd international break, absolute winner. Okay, so that chat was actually recorded about an hour ago. And in the meantime, Thomas Tuchel has been announced as the new manager of England. But we were actually having a chat during our episode about who should become the New England manager. So this is what Gary and Jamie said before the news was announced. Now the big headline as we are recording today is that Thomas Tuchel is the out-and-out front runner. Gary, yes or no, Tuchel?
I said when Fabio Capello left England, I was only in a couple of squads with Fabio Capello, and I was obviously with Sven-Göran Eriksson before that, and it was around the time where St George's Park, between Fabio Capello and Roy Hodgson was the move to St George's Park when we were there with England. And English coaching has taken a battering for 25, 30 years. English coaches do not get promoted in our own league that easily anymore, because obviously we are an international league and we have great coaches from all around the world, and we love that. But I said at the time, if we don't make an Englishman the manager of England, I think we are damaging our own coaching programme, and we are also damaging our own brand, if you like. The Tuchel one, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the one coach I think that you would be worth breaking that rule for is Pep Guardiola, because I think what that would do for English football, I think would be something quite dramatic. I don't see the same. I mean, Tuchel may come in, he may be appointed, he might go and win a tournament. We might all be grateful in 3-4 years for the work that he's done. But something inside me here, as I sit here today, tells me that it's not quite right and that it doesn't feel right that Thomas Tuchel would be the manager of England. The connection to English football is not the same as Pep Guardiola's. The influence on English football, his style is not the same as Pep Guardiola's. The longevity of coaching in this country is not the same as Pep Guardiola's. So for me, I feel that Pep is the only coach that I would break my rule of sort of not appointing an Englishman for that exists in the world at this moment in time. I'm not sure I break that rule for Thomas Tuchel personally.
Jay?
I've always been of the opinion that the England manager should be English. I'll never change that. I'm a big fan of Thomas Tuchel. I thought he was fantastic at Chelsea. I thought it was a huge mistake to lose him, because, I mean, he was going up against Pep and Klopp. I mean, he beat Pep in the Champions League final, we shouldn't forget. So I think if he comes in terms of quality of manager, I think it's a great appointment. But for me, I think it's a bit of it's embarrassing from an England point of view that we have a foreign manager. I always felt that when Sven came in, I played under Sven. I played for a short time under Fabio Capello as well. And listen, they had great club careers. But when you go back, and I go to my lifetime, the best England teams have always had English managers. I don't necessarily think you need the best manager in the world at international football. I'm not sure how big an influence the manager can have at international level in terms of having a system or a style of play, because you're bringing players in from all different clubs. You've got them from a short period of time. They do things differently. And the perfect example is Gareth Southgate just took us to 2 finals. And this is a guy who's got no pedigree really at all in management. The one job he had, he got relegated with Middlesbrough, but he was a brilliant England manager. So I don't necessarily think a great club manager makes a great international manager.
All right, guys, so just give me one name, an English name. That's in an ideal world, that's who you want. So an English name for the England manager. Jamie?
Eddie Howe would be my first thing that you go and speak to, and can you get him out of Newcastle? And you're looking at a manager like Graham Potter. What he did, he had a bad experience at Chelsea, but when you actually look at the style of football and the way his teams play, going back to sort of Swansea, obviously we had him on Monday Night Football. A couple of weeks ago, he started off in Scandinavia, and then the job he did at Brighton started all that off there with Zerbi takes over. So I agree with you, and I actually think as well, someone like a Frank Lampard now, because I go back to, Frank's managed in the Premier League, he's got experience, but a little bit like Gareth, he's got that presence of he's been and played in international football tournaments. The players would look up to him. I think with Gareth being a big England player is a real big sort of bonus point for him, and having that experience of being in those tournaments as well. So, and as I said, I go back to it's just about creating a team spirit, which Gareth Southgate did. He created Team England, and I feel like I'm going on about Gareth a lot here, but I think some of the criticism he got was way over the top.
Gary?
Eddie Howe.
Wow. So, chaps, an hour. It's a long time in football. Jamie, we had to bring him back from his lunch. Gary's been on the phone. We've had to put it down, Gary. You have to come back to It's Called Soccer, because this is an emergency insert in the pod. Thomas Tuchel, who neither of you wanted, let's be fair, you both wanted an English manager, but he is. I feel like it's happened so quick. A minute ago, we were talking about Lee Carsley was going to be the new manager. Jamie, your reaction?
Probably a little bit similar to what I said before. I mean, listen, there's no doubt he's one of the best managers certainly available. And I think, well, maybe if Gary's club in the future were looking at a manager, I think he would have been, right at the top of the list. I think for any big European club right now, if they change the manager, I think Thomas Tuchel will be in the top 2 or 3 names to get that job, for some of the biggest clubs. So there's no doubt the pedigree. He's one of the top managers in world football. He's a Champions League winning manager. And when a manager's won the Champions League, I always feel they always sit at a level, I feel, as if, it's a huge achievement for any manager, but it's like they've got that experience, they've got that charisma, they've got the ability, of course. So we know he's got all that. For me, yes, I think international football, and I've always believed it, and I always will, is your best be somebody else's best. Now, England, we would probably both agree, if we look through the 11, let's say, for instance, we think Jordan Pickford's a good Premier League goalkeeper, but we don't think he's world class. That doesn't mean we go to another country and get a goalkeeper. That's my view on it, and that would be the same with the manager. That's not nothing against Thomas Tuchel, his ability. But I've never believed the manager is the ultimate sort of person who would get you across the line in a tournament. I always think international football is down to the players. I think it's slightly different with club football. I think the manager has such a bigger influence, and we've seen that with Thomas Tuchel in the club game. So it remains to be seen whether he can transform that to international football. But England have got a great manager. There's no doubt about that. But for me, I always think the England manager should be Englishman.
Does it feel right, Gary?
No, I mean, I can't, unfortunately, rewrite what I said before. And to be honest with you, I'm on record for 20 years. I think I was on record when Sven was appointed as saying that I thought it was the right decision at the time to go for a foreign manager to try and make England successful. We then went through 2, obviously, international managers. We went through Sven-Göran Eriksson and Fabio Capello, and off the back of that, plus the decline of English coaching in the Premier League and the opportunities for English coaching in the Premier League, I thought that basically with St George's Park coming, we should always appoint an English coach in the future. There's no doubt in what Jamie said, that he was an outstanding coach, that he's one of the very best in the world. But I have to say that we can both think that and think that English coaching, to be fair tonight, suffers a lot again, I believe. There'll be fans who are delighted, who think it's all about the team winning. And if Thomas Tuchel wins a tournament, they will all be sat there celebrating, probably in the stadium, and thinking it's the most wonderful thing in the world and he'll become a hero. But the reality of it is we have not got an English coach managing our national team, and we've only really got Eddie Howe at the very top of the game in the Premier League. So the reality of it is, I'm not saying that English coaches deserve to be at the very top of the game at this moment in time, but how do you get there if you don't put them in the biggest atmospheres, in the biggest games?
Well, Gary, can I jump in there? I mean, I think there's a different, what we're talking about there in terms of English coaches. I've got no sympathy with English coaches not getting the biggest jobs in the Premier League, because when English or British managers, for instance, have had those opportunities, they haven't took them. And you think of David Moyes at Manchester United, I think of Roy Hodgson at Liverpool, I think of Graham Potter at Chelsea. There might be a couple that's crossed my mind. But I just think it's not even about giving an Englishman a chance. It's like, it's the England team. It should be an English manager. That's just it. It doesn't matter where you get him from. It just should be because that's what international football is. What your best be somebody else's best. So whether someone's done, you're saying Eddie Howe as he's the only one at the top. Well, that's it doesn't matter. You get the sort of the next best one or wherever.
I don't disagree with you, but my point is, your point is because you think an English coach should always manage the English team. Yeah. I think also that basically, if England don't promote their own coaches, what chance have we got of basically getting English coaches just better generally?
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
the one thing that I would say is, and just being part of the FA for a few years on the coaching side, there are things that could happen now that could be beneficial to English coaching out of Thomas Tuchel being there. And this was something that actually was mentioned when I was an English coach, when I was an England coach under Roy Hodgson. It's a full-time job, but it's not a full-time job, and you understand what I mean by that. He will be the full-time England manager, but the reality of it is he's going to have months off in between games, and he's got a lot of time on his hands. So there is a lot of work that he can do with English coaches. There's a lot of work that he can do with the English system to actually promote English coaches, to work with English coaches, to pass over his intelligence and his skill and his talent that he's got. All the coaching sessions that he does with the team, I think, can be passed on towards the younger coaches within the programmes. I know that didn't happen last time. This is why I'm saying this. So there is some intelligence that potentially could happen out of Thomas Tuchel's knowledge, because there's no doubt Thomas Tuchel is far better than any other current English coach out there in the market. I'm not doubting that whatsoever. He's far better, higher level than any of them. So what we're talking about here is the fact that ultimately, how do English coaches get the experience and exposure? You could argue just get better, but usually we know, it's like we were talking about American football players, US football players, Rebecca, last week. The only way you get better as a US football player is exposing yourself to European football and higher standards. How do English coaches get better unless they're going to go and basically given higher standard of games and higher levels of games? So look, there are things that can happen here that can be positive, and there is a way in which the intelligence of Thomas Tuchel and his staff can be passed over to English coaches. But having said what I said 10, 12 years ago when Fabio Capello lost his job as England manager, that I think from now on with St George's Park we should promote English coaches. And by the way, the fact that Gareth Southgate has been so successful, I know people will say he hasn't been successful, but he has, let's be clear. And he wasn't a fancied manager, has proven that if you do give an English coach a chance, we can do reasonably well. So that's just my rounded opinion. It's not against Thomas Tuchel. It could be any other coach, to be honest with you.
What about his style, chaps? He's not been in the Premier League for a while, but of course he's been in Germany. So for anyone who hasn't seen his team play for a few years, what do you think this England team, Gary, will look like under Tuchel? What will his philosophy be?
I mean, I've viewed him as in certain games being pretty pragmatic. I think he's adaptable, but I think he can be very pragmatic and, to be fair, do what he needs to do to win football matches and certainly knockout games. I mean, that's something that he's proven that he can do. I think his football, it's not Klopp. It's not Klopp in that sense, but Klopp's football I thought was electric. I thought Klopp's football was outstanding. But he has got an element of basically attacking, pressing football. I've got no doubts about him as a coach. I've got no doubts about him as an individual and what he can do. I've got just the question for me is where I've been for 10, 12 years about English coaches and the fact that they're getting decimated continuously.
He's quite charming with the press, Thomas Tuchel. He can be really charming, but he can also be a bit fiery. And he's also falls out with people at the clubs he's been at. Do you think that side of him, that fiery, edgy side, could be a problem at international level, or do you think there's enough calmness in between the games, Jay?
There's no doubt he's got that fire and passion that rubs people up the wrong way in terms of, people talk about managing above and keeping maybe people on side. And he's not often in jobs too long. If you look at his history, he's successful. He goes in, he does his job. I wouldn't quite say it's Jose Mourinho-like, but it's not a million miles away from that, where it's a 2-3 year job max. It always seems like something happens, a little bit of ructions behind the scenes, and then he moves on to the next job. So, I mean, it's a less day-to-day job. There's less sort of fire and passion, maybe dealing with people, constantly, whether it's agents or transfer dealings and how much money you've got to spend, who you've got to buy and sell. So I think the dynamics are completely different.
I think with the media, obviously Gareth handled the media extremely well. Tuchel's had big jobs, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, PSG. They're huge jobs where he's had massive pressure on him. Tuchel will receive horrific criticism if he doesn't succeed and he doesn't do well, doesn't get through groups and stuff like that. But if he does succeed and he gets to semi-finals and finals, then obviously the press then start to sort of come with you. So it'll come down in the end to success, but he's got enough experience to deal with the media, and I think he will not like some of it. There's no doubt. I mean, to be fair, tomorrow I think the FA will get the toughest press conference, not him. Because I think the reality of it is everyone recognises that England have got a great coach and that he's been appointed, and now you get behind him and you want England to succeed. But I think the FA will be questioned, I think, very harshly, and rightly so, on their sort of, if you like, pathway for English coaches and what their plan is around St George's Park. You've got to remember, they've made some quite big statements in the last 5 to 10 years about English coaching, about promoting English coaching, about basically got of moving English coaching forward. This would be deemed as being a sideways step in that respect because they've parked English coaching to bring in a German coach.
But Gary, this isn't a sideways step where that's concerned. This is they've thrown a grenade into that. They've literally thrown a grenade into their entire new ethos.
I'm shocked. I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked. I'm shocked tonight that England have appointed... I don't want this to be about Thomas Tuchel. It's nothing to do with Thomas Tuchel. I'm shocked tonight that England have appointed a international coach. And by the way, we absolutely adore international coaches in our league. The best leagues in the world have the best coaches in the world. That's a fact. However, there is an element of, with England, that they went down that path many years ago. St George's Park was built. They started to win things with a new system, a new structure. They started to win things at youth level. The women's team, the under-21s, the under-20s have all been successful. England have had their most successful period just generally in the last 10 years since St George's Park has been built for the last 50, 60 years. They've now, if you like, you're right, a grenade's probably the right word in terms of what it would mean for English coaching, and the repercussions of that we don't know yet. But if Thomas Tuchel wins a tournament, all of this will be forgotten.
It does feel like the FA have been remiss. I mean, we all knew Southgate was probably going to leave. And even if it's only a probably, they had to have their person in place. If they thought Tuchel was the right man today, why didn't they think he was the right man 3 months ago when we all knew Southgate was going to leave? It feels like once again the FA have just let English football down.
Yeah, listen, I think they probably let English coaches down. I just think a nation like England, I think it's embarrassing that we as a nation are saying we need a foreign coach to make us successful. Now, we've had foreign coaches before, it hasn't happened. Thomas Tuchel is a great coach, but when you look at the other nations that we sort of think we sit alongside, now they've been more successful, granted, but you think of like the Premier League, the players we produce. Why are we not producing those managers? And you go back to maybe the Premier League and foreign managers and English managers and British coaches have had their chance and not taking it. But I think certain nations need a foreign coach to help lift them up. And I don't think you should be getting a foreign coach to try and win you a tournament. We're very close to winning a tournament without a foreign coach. We shouldn't be then sort of going to the foreign market. I can understand maybe the US national team, you bring Pochettino, you're trying to lift your nation up, as a whole. It's not just the actual the national team, and you think of other countries who are maybe a little bit behind sort of the top nations, and you get it, you understand it, you think the quality of the coach, their understanding of the game can help, not just a football team, but as I just mentioned there, the country. But we're that close away from an international tour. We've got some of the best players in the world. I think it's really poor that we've decided to go down the foreign coach route.
I think Thomas Tuchel will get a great reception from the majority of England fans. I think that people will be behind him. The players will look forward to working with him. We'll now get behind him, even though we don't agree with the decision. But I do think the FA tomorrow will get a pretty tough ride and rough ride in the actual press conference.
Indeed. His first games are against Greece and Ireland on the 14th and 17th of November. That is the breaking news that got Jamie Carragher off the beach and back in the studio. Thomas Tuchel is the new England manager. It's all a little bit mad. Gary Neville's Moment of the Week brought to you by Allstate as we talk about international football. Gary, what have you gone for this week?
So is this what I've missed since I've been away? We've not got a Gary's Moment of the Week.
Yeah.
When did this start? When did this happen? Who decided this?
In your absence, we've been to Carragher's pub and changed it to Neville's, and we've created a Gary Neville Moment of the Week. A lot happens when you take the time off. My Moment of the Week is Maurizio Pochettino's first win as US coach. I think obviously they were beaten by Panama in their last game, and I think the fact that he's gone on to win his first game, I think it's a great start for him, and obviously he came on the show a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's my All-State Moment of the Week.
And it's interesting as well, Gary, because as time of recording, they're playing Mexico tonight, American time. So by the time everyone's listening to this, they'll know the outcome of that. Mexico being their biggest rivals in international football. And Jamie and I were talking just before you joined about Maurizio Pochettino's decision to let Pulisic, Weston McKennie and 3 other players go back to their clubs before the game against Mexico. Jamie, you're not having that, are you?
No, I'm not. I don't understand it. Listen, I've got great respect for Mauricio Pochettino. He's obviously got an idea or a plan behind it. But, I mean, some of those players you mentioned didn't even play 90 minutes in the first game. And there's no competitive games, I think I'm right in saying, Rebecca, in terms of between now and the the tournament. So I think it's a strange decision, because I think when you're trying to embed a way of playing, a system, values, how you want the team to play, and I think any manager would say, if he didn't have real competitive games with results on the line, that you want as strong as opposition as you can possibly get in friendly games, and Mexico is as strong as it can possibly get right now for the US. So I'm very surprised, and I think if I was an American supporter of the national team, I'd be disappointed, because I'd want to see what Pochettino's team and the best players could do against one of our biggest rivals. So I think it's a strange decision. I can't quite get my head around it at all.
It's to do with managing minutes. What do you think, Gary? Apparently, that's what they say.
Look, international managers have been criticised for years for the damned if they do, the damned if they don't. If they play players, their best players, the whole time in friendlies, they get criticised by their club managers. If they don't play them, then they'll get criticised by the media and potentially the US fans. I think I've been in that position myself with England, with Roy Hodgson working for 4 years, where you're always balancing the idea that you want to try and look after the players who are playing all the minutes in a season. If he thinks that he's going to need those players down the line, and he's going to need those clubs down the line to be a bit more, I suppose, cooperative with him, that would be a way of doing it. He might just think that they're a little bit tired at this moment in time and want to get them back, and sort of they might have a little bit of a niggle or a knock. But I agree with Jamie in one sense that you would think in his first meet-up he would want to keep the group together. Even if he doesn't play them in the second game, maybe keep them for the training part and for the actual squad part. So he's obviously got a reason for it, and I suspect it's deeper than the reasons that we sort of know about and have highlighted in this conversation, because it does seem strange in his first get-together to let some of his best players go, when actually you do get very limited time together as an international team.
And listening to some football journalists since the game against Panama, everybody is getting quite excited already about Pochettino here in the States. They really are. They're seeing changes already. They're seeing changes. So that was your moment of the week, brought to you by Allstate. Jamie, you can do one next week. Not really. We haven't actually got a sponsor, so you can't.
This episode of It's Called Soccer is in association with Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance by checking Allstate first. It's always smart to check first, and I've learned the hard way with this. Like the times I've not checked the weather before sitting in the gantry, commentating on an evening game on a cold night and wishing I'd brought my gilet. Or those times we celebrate a little too early and VAR pops up afterwards and you think, oh no. So yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. It's Called Soccer is in association with LinkedIn. When I was getting ready to launch this show, finding the right people was crucial. I needed a team that understood the vision and could hit the ground running. That's when LinkedIn Jobs came in. You know, it's not just a jobs board. LinkedIn is where you find professionals you won't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively looking, but might be open to the perfect role. In fact, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. And here's the kicker. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. My team at the Overlap US found talented people who were perfect for the job quicker than I thought possible. For small and medium businesses, I know time and resources are tight. LinkedIn makes it easy, even down to helping you write the job description so that you can hire professionals like a professional. So if, like me, you're looking to build a great team, post your job for free at linkedin.com/offer. That's linkedin.com/offer to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so welcoming Fabian Hurzeler, the Brighton manager, here to It's Called Soccer. Fabian, thank you so much for joining us. Your journey to Brighton has been amazing. Born in Houston, Texas, of course, brought up in Germany, St. Pauli being your first job, this now your second and your first in England. My first question is the most recent one, which is the Tottenham game. We sat there, we all watched it. Please take us in to that dressing room at halftime. What happened?
Honestly, nothing special. So I think everyone who watched the game saw that in the first half, Tottenham dominates us, especially in the personal duels. So especially also intensity was missing from our side, and we thought, so the coaching staff thought that, especially in possession, we stick to the match plan. We also created some chances, but of course against the ball we missed completely the intensity. We missed like being ruthless in personal duels, and these were the things we mentioned. So we didn't talk a lot about tactical things. We talked more about how we get back the crowd, what can we do, what can we influence to get back in the game, and these are most of the times football, the small things you can influence. So for example, win personal duels, make the last step in the personal duel, and then you gain your self-confidence back. And when you have your self-confidence, I think the players have the potential to create chances. They have the potential to get in the flow, and they get in this flow, and then of course the energy came back also from the crowd, and then it was just like in the flow. So we made the goal, I think, in the right moment, and we gained the self-confidence back, and then we have also big potential in the squad with players who have the individual quality to make goals out of one chance.
Fabian, I want to ask you a little bit about a player that I used to play with, which is Danny Welbeck, and we interviewed him actually after that game. Just tell us what your thoughts are on him and how he stands up against the other players that you've coached.
Honestly, he's like a role model, really a gentleman on the pitch, beside the pitch, how he behaves like in a professional way, and I think that's quite special. So how he prepares his body for training, how he does the regeneration after the training, also like the way how he supports his teammates. He's like paying a lot of attention, trying to go for dynamics in the team, trying to go for players who need help, and that's something very special, that he's not only driven by his own ego, he's also really driven by the success of the club. So that's what you really feel by his behavior, that he wants that the club is successful, and you see it also how he plays. So he makes a lot of work in the shadow for the team. He doesn't always need to score to be happy. He's really like that role model where you see the team player, and the success of the club is the most important for him.
Fabian, we speak a lot in England about Brighton as a club, and we always use the term, the model of Brighton and how they go about things, and obviously bringing you in, we're that known to most people in this country. What were those conversations like when you first spoke to Brighton, and what is maybe slightly different about the club than you've seen before?
So the discussions were quite positive. That's why I'm sitting here. And the scouting process is like very progressive and very innovative, and that fits also to my style of play. I think also what is special to use data, to use numbers, to make decisions, not only like in the case of scouting, of recruitment, also in preparation for games, in-game coaching. So we use, for all these things, use the data. And I think this approach is something special, and also fits to my style of play, because I think it's innovative and I think it's progressive. And in the last recent years, it's proven that it works. And that's why for me, it seemed to be a good match because of this approach, and also because of the ambition of the club. So we were quite open about the ambitions, and I think for me, I'm very ambitious as a coach. I want to achieve things together with my team and together with the club, and I think the ambitions from the club and my desire for new challenges was a good match.
Fabian, can you give us an example of how you would apply the use of data in-game so that we can understand?
So for me, it's always important you have a match plan before the game. So it's all about preparation. It's all about focusing on the small details, trying to prepare the team, the individual players, like physically and also mentally. And then you have a half-time, and in this half-time, of course, you can prove by data if you are into this match plan or if you're not into the match plan. And there are like several things where we can use. It's not always that we use it. So like I said, for example, against Tottenham, it was more like an emotional approach. It was not like a tactical approach, but sometimes when we when we are missing, for example, the pressure on the ball, especially in high pressure, then we were thinking, right, where are the gaps, where we might have to close the gaps, where are the spaces where the opponent have this time to play a controlled long ball. So these are all small things where we can use the data and then adjust in the halftime if it's necessary.
Fabian, when you came in, I watched your first game at Everton, and you won, obviously, a great result for you. But you've come in on the back of Graham Potter, De Zerbi's come in, both managers who play really good football. I mean, was it difficult to almost put your twist on it? How much different are you from them?
Honestly, I didn't work with them, and I really don't know what was their main focus on. But I think both of them, they're great coaches, and they have also elements in their game which I use. So, for example, I heard that Graham Potter is like really focusing on like quick reactions in the head, on like doing counter pressing quick. That's a big element in our game. Then De Zerbi, he's for me a genius in possession. So how he's dominating the opponent by controlling the passes, by controlling different spaces. So a lot of focus on positioning and these things. What is necessary to have a lot of ball control. And I think both of these elements they also useful for our style of play. And I think you can't copy any coach, but it's very important to understand also the history from the club and to understand the approach from the coaches before. Because in the end, I will not come here, or I didn't come here and try to change everything, because there were a lot of success in the last recent years, and I don't think that I can make everything different in a much better way. That's why for me it was like analyzing the past, trying to do small adjustments, trying to bring your ideas, not like at the first day, it's more like a process, bring the ideas over several weeks inside the head from the players on the training pitch, and then it's just a process of like making adjustments, small things to adapt. But the basic thing, I think, what I faced here at Brighton with the style of plays they had in the past, and with the knowledge from the players and the experience from the players was very good. So that's why I came here and just made like small adjustments, small adaptations in bringing my ideas into this style.
Fabian, you talk about your ambition. So many times managers will come into management in their 40s, sometimes maybe even 50s. Of course, you're just out of your 20s. Does it feel like you have, because you do have an entire career in front of you, does it feel less of a rush, even though you've arrived in the Premier League so early? Do you feel, in a way, I've got so much time, I don't need to rush this career?
No, I think I don't have much time, and I'm very ambitious, and I think the club is very ambitious, and also like Tony Bloom is very ambitious, and that's what also makes me really felt that it might be a good match. In the discussions we had, it was like quite transparent. I heard the vision from the club, and I knew my visions, I knew my desire, and of course, like it's a different environment here in the Premier League, and different quality, and it's the best league in the world. But I think the experiences I made in Germany helped me to go for this challenge, and I think the attitude of mine is always being successful, always try to maximize the success of the club, because in the end that's the most important. It's not about being successful personal, or for example for a striker that he tries to score the most goals in the league. No, it's about building a culture in the whole club, that everyone understands his role, that everyone goes for this one goal, and therefore everyone needs to understand his role and responsibility. And I think that we are all on the same page, and that's very important to be successful, that you have this club culture. You always talk about the team, but in the end I think it's very important that the whole club and everyone in the club understands where we want to go, what we want to achieve, because everyone is important to achieve these goals.
Fabian, how big an influence of other German coaches been? You know, you think of obviously the ones that stand out are Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel, you know, Champions League winners in years gone by. I mean, how far back do you go in studying sort of German managers and have those influences?
Yeah, so I really admire both of them. They're special in their leading style and their tactical intelligence. So when we see how Jürgen Klopp, how he builds this team spirit, how he brings the best version out of the individual players, then combined with Thomas Tuchel, his focus on the details, focus on the structure, I think that's something where I can really learn. Of course, every coach needs to have his own style of play, needs to have his own ideas, but there are no doubts that for sure there's some elements helpful for my style of play, because when you see their period of being a coach, of course Jürgen Klopp was a little bit longer than Thomas Tuchel, but they were quite very successful and they did a lot of things right. Otherwise you can't be successful in the best league in the world, and that's why there are for sure some elements where I can learn a lot from them.
Looking at the Premier League, you're less than 10 games in. Give us one thing that you say is the best thing that you've experienced about the Premier League so far, and then the thing that's maybe created the biggest challenge for you.
Honestly, the best thing is like the challenges. You are facing every weekend, you face an opponent where you have individual quality. You face always like a very good coach with an own idea, so you have to be very good in preparation. You have to be very consistent in preparation. That's a challenge I really like, because I think these challenges they will make you a better person. They will make you a better coach, and I really like these challenges. And for me, what surprises me most is like you have to work hard for the momentum in a game, and you have to use the momentum. So there were several games already in the first 8-9 games where we were dominant, where we created chances but we didn't score. And if you don't score in the Premier League, then the opponent will do. Or if you don't defend good consistently over 90 minutes, the opponent will score. So I talk a lot about momentums and work for the momentum. And if you have the momentum, keep it and try to use it. And if you don't use it, the opponent will be ruthless. And that's something what is for me very special and very demanding.
It's Called Soccer is brought to you by Mint Mobile. You know, one of my biggest frustrations with my wireless provider has always been those unexpected surprises on my bill. Extra charges, hidden fees. It's like the price I thought I'd be paying is never what I actually end up paying. But with Mint Mobile, you get exactly what you sign up for. When they say $15 a month for a 3-month plan, they mean it. No tricks, no surprises. Say goodbye to those jaw-dropping bills from overpriced wireless plans. Mint Mobile's here to rescue you with premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. That gets you high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. And there's no messing about. You can keep your current phone and number. No need to change a thing. Just switch to Mint and start saving. So, if you're ready to ditch your overpriced wireless plan and get this new customer offer of 3 months of premium service for just $15 a month, head to mintmobile.com/ICS. That's mintmobile.com/ICS. Cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ICS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower, above 40 GB on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Fabian, what stands out for us straight away is obviously you're very knowledgeable about the game, tactically where the team is set up, but also that you're quite passionate on the sidelines, and you're going to keep the officials quite busy. Is that something that we should expect? That was something that we were told when you came into the Premier League, and you haven't let us down.
So, I tried to improve. No, honestly, like I collected a lot of yellow cards as a coach already at St. Pauli, but I know that I have to improve in some ways. But of course, I don't try to be artificial. I try to be emotional and passionate on the sideline. It's more about your personality, how you live the game, how you try to help your players. But honestly, when I watch the game afterwards in the scouting feed and I see sometimes my behavior, I think, what are you doing there, mate? That's unbelievable how you behave. So I also try to
You know that, Fabian, when you get frustrated maybe on the side of the pitch or you get passionate, does that sometimes come from your own team, not actually the game plan hasn't really gone to plan, or it might be a referee's decision? It's sometimes, because when I was a player, I was very passionate, but my frustration a lot of the time came actually with my own team rather than the opposition or the officials.
Yeah, I'm very like I said, ambitious, and of course I also want that when you outwork like a match plan, that it works for sure. But I learned that it's not always possible. And then for me it's very important. So for example, when we look at the game against Tottenham, when I see that we don't do the basic things right, so even you can have like a really really shit day, it's no problem. All the players will have one day a shit day, but there are always things you can influence on the pitch. So how is the intensity on the pitch? How is the energy on the pitch? How much you run? How much you communicate? These are all things you can influence in every game. And these are the basic things. And if you do the basic things like all the time right, and all the time like 100%, I'm sure that you increase the percentage of winning. And I'm a big fan of these things, of these small details, and the things you can influence. And if you don't do them right, then I put pressure on other players, because I know they can control them, and that's something what makes me angry if you don't do that.
Fabian, you should be a pundit or a commentator, because you never have a shit day when you're talking about the game.
Yeah, maybe one day, but now I'm really happy with my job.
Fabian, did you feel the pressure a little bit going into the Tottenham game? Because obviously you'd had a couple of games or so where it maybe, you'd obviously had a few draws. Did you feel a little bit of pressure building, or did you feel it quite calm?
First of all, we talk a lot about the data approach from the club, but there's also like the focus on the process from the club. So they know we have a lot of changes in the summer. Changes always brings like new challenges, and we knew that we have to stay calm, we have to work, we have to go for the process, and happily the numbers were quite good. So we had some very good matches where we didn't score, but we were a better team, and the numbers were quite positive. So that's a very positive thing from the club, that they really try to focus on the process. So that's the first thing. The second thing, for me personal, of course, I always want to win, and I think it's so important to get results, especially in the Premier League, just to have the self-confidence for the next game, just to keep the momentum and use the momentum, just to that you can work in silence, because in the Premier League it's going so fast, you can lose match for match, and it's going so fast, but you can also win match for match, and that's why on the one side, of course, there's always pressure, but on the other side, I know that I'm the guy. I'm never judging the players by the results, and I also know that the club, on one side, they won't judge me all the time by the results. Of course, in the end, I know this business is only about results, but I think when the process is the right one, and I think that's the thing you can influence. The process you can influence. You can't influence always the result, but if you keep working hard on your idea, if you try to help the players create an environment where they can improve, I'm sure that in long term the results will come.
Fabian, we have a few minutes left. I've just got 3 quick-fire questions from Brighton fans in America. The first one is from Rebecca in Baltimore, Maryland, and she says,
and I wanted to ask about your pre-match routines. Any superstitions to guarantee a win?
No, honestly, I don't have any superstitions. I focus a lot on preparation and consistency. So my belief is that when you focus on the process of analyzing an opponent, of doing the right training sessions, then you make sure that the players are prepared mentally and physically for the game, and then I hope that the percentage of winning is higher.
Number 2, Louis from Southern California.
I wanted to ask, what are some of your goals for the team this season as a new manager? Best of luck from America. Go Brighton.
We have a young squad with big potential. We have great supporters. We have loyal supporters where we should make them proud wearing the Seagulls colors. And then we have also like the the persons who are responsible here for leading the club and all the staff members around. And I think when everything mix together and everything stick together perfectly, then we can create like an environment and a good culture of winning. And I think that's the main goal, going in every game to win and challenge the establishment in the end of the season. And I think with all the belief, with all the support, and with all the person who are responsible for this club, we have a good chance to do it.
Okay, and question 3, Paul, who's the founder of Stateside Seagulls.
So I wanted to ask you what you think Evan Ferguson's ceiling is, and how excited should we be as Brighton fans to see Evan back in the blue and white stripes playing for the Seagulls?
Evan Ferguson, yes, he came back after a long injury, so I think that he suffered a lot in the last recent month, but he's doing a great job at the moment in training. He played now 2 games for Ireland, where I see that he has big potential. And I'm sure that he will be back as a starter in the next weeks, because again, he is a striker. He knows where the ball might come down for a tap-in, where he has to be positioned for a tap-in, and he has this nose for these situations. So he's a born striker, and I'm really happy to have him in the squad, and I'm really looking forward when he's back as a starter for our team.
And final question from me. Your predecessor, Roberto De Zerbi, said that he loved living in Brighton, but that the English food was a problem. He had to seek out a little Italian restaurant to enjoy his Italian spaghetti and everything that he would have. How are you dealing with the English food? It's great, right?
I'm good with my adaptations. Honestly, I love Asian food as well. So here's I do know a little bit commercial for Ivy Asia. I don't know if you know it. It's a great Asian food.
Okay. Throw it in there.
Love it.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't find a German restaurant so far, but we have like also great chefs here at the club. They do amazing food, and sometimes I already made some German wishes, and he completely fulfilled them. So I'm very happy with everything here.
Perfect.
They don't let Carragher in the Ivy,
no.
Fabian. He's not allowed in. No, he's not allowed in the Ivy.
No. No one from Liverpool has ever been in the Ivy.
Fabian, thank you so much. Good luck against Newcastle at the weekend. We'll be watching. We wish you luck. Thank you so much for joining It's Called Soccer.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Fabian.
Bye-bye. See you.
Okay, gentlemen, it's been lovely. Jamie, it's just so lovely to see you on the show. All right, guys, have a great week. See you next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, press that button, follow us, do all of the things for It's Called Soccer. We'll see you next week.